Derek Moneyberg here. You're about to download some key money-making philosophies in your head with this next lesson. And once you do, go to moneyberg.com and let's accelerate your success even faster. That impact thing you're talking about, everybody likes to say bullshit words like, philanthropy and altruism and, these little cute keywords. That's real cute. That's real nice. I talked to Jack Welch about this. Who knows who Jack Welch is? Jack Welch is the CEO of General Electric for, 30 years or something, 20-something years. Maybe the most respected CEO in my country's history. I was in a small group with him, a dozen of us, and Jack mentioned this. He says, he's got a weird Boston accent. He's an old grumpy guy with a Boston accent. And he says, all these millennial kids, they want to give. He said, they haven't fucking done anything yet. He said, that's like if I show up, I got a horse and a cart, a wagon. I show up with the people. I stand in the back of the wagon. I say, it's all for you. It's all for you. But there's nothing in the fucking wagon. That's what they're doing. He's like, you got to go do something, and then you'd be very well positioned to make an impact or help something. What did Bill Gates do? He made himself one of the richest people in the world, and he's given away about $20 billion. What is Buffett doing? Same shit. What do these people do that are, those so-called evil, greedy capitalists that the Justice Department goes after for their monopolies or whatnot in my country? Those are the biggest philanthropists in the world, but they fucking did something first. What Travis just said is really on point, where he says, are you going to be well positioned to help somebody you care about in the future? I wake up and I do productive shit every day to make sure that I'm more useful tomorrow than I was. At the end of the day, I want to be more useful than when I woke up. I need to learn something new. I need to do something new. I need to be around interesting people. That's how you learn something. Humans are social creatures. A human is a social creature. Business is a team sport. If you got a bunch of losers on your business team, you're going to be a fucking loser. So the people that are going to be successful at this are people that you consciously and proactively join the right team. The patterns of success are laid out for all of us. You know what I did when I was a poor dumbass surrounded by a bunch of losers? Well, I started reading books, which I don't think is the best idea, by the way. Which I think there's a lot worse things you could do with your time. I think that's something you do with your spare time. If that's your primary endeavor, you're kind of, you're not optimizing things. I'd go back to, business is a team sport. Why do I say that? Because humans are social creatures. About the time you admit to yourself that you're not smart enough to figure it out by yourself. Does that bother somebody when I say that? No, you know what? The smartest people in the room understand that. You're too fucking stupid to figure it out by yourself. Not because you're a stupid person, just because you're a person, because you're human. Humans learn things from repetition. They learn things from, interval training. You learn things from repetition over time. And that's how a human learns. A human learns things through repetition. A human learns things for intervals between that repetition. They get some information in their head, they go out and implement it. They affirm that information, they go out and implement, you give them a couple new things, they go out and implement it. And that's what this learning process is. This other shit is delusion. Any of this other nonsense, it's a human, bro. It's like you're gonna fuck more things up than you do right. And if you're not making new mistakes, you're a real failure because you're not trying things outside your comfort zone or your main skill sets, You'll never be growing new skill sets if you're not willing to be embarrassed. You'll never. So let's go back to jiu-jitsu for just a minute. It's like, do you know any black belts that didn't get choked several thousand times? You got to get choked about 10,000 times. If your black belt means anything, it means you probably got choked about 10,000 times. You probably tapped out about 10,000 times. Is that fair? Yeah. Is that a loser? No, that's a guy that'll smack the piss out of any two of us in this room probably. Right? So that's just what it is. It's like I don't know. Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, no doubt they missed more shots than I have at basketball. Is that it's a ridiculous metric is the point, It's like, of course. And then, your more specific questions like, it'd be nuanced. I could answer your question, but it could be nuanced. But the main theme behind those nuanced things would be like, that really quite literally what I was just talking with him about is like, well, where is the time that I'm wasting in life? Where's the time that's being spent with the wrong people? What are the time that's being spent doing the wrong things? And then how do we go do more time in the right things? More times that would help you multiply that number. And then again, that number just means your freedom. So if I talk about money and math and that offends some people here or they find it unrelatable, it just means your freedom. It just means your freedom, dummy. If you're one of the people that's like, when you hear about math or money, you're just like, oh, I just care about the fucking universe and some Cool, bro. It just means your freedom. It just means your ability to actually create a significant impact, like this young man talked about, versus talking shit and being useless. Nobody cares about your opinion. You're literally some sheep in a crowd with a sign. It's literally a sheep in a crowd with a fucking sign. Unfair. The world's unfair. So the time spent with the right people is probably the best goddamn thing you can do. Any big value that's going to be created, it's going to be created synergistically with other humans. You're not going to do it by yourself. Why doesn't Jeff Bezos deliver his own packages? Why doesn't Jeff Bezos deliver all the packages at Amazon? Would that be a good use of his time? Would he be the richest guy in the world if he's like, no, I want it done just my ways. I'm going to personally deliver this fucking package in Wichita, Kansas. It's a silly idea, So you just think about that in your own life. Well, if you're not building teams, if you don't have partners, or at least teammates, if not partners, you're fucked. You're really limiting your potential. You're extraordinarily limited in your potential. So I think about that, and I spend a lot of time and a lot of money trying to put myself in environments where I can be the dumbest person in the room. It should be your utopia that should be like the dumbest person in the room that's still respected enough to be accepted in the room, without being an outcast, It should be your utopic vision. Like, how can I spend more time in those type of rooms? How can I spend more time with those people? And, the more you could do that would help mitigate a lot of those mistakes, And another core philosophy that just has to get burned in our heads is, how can I make myself useful to others? Because nobody else gives a shit about what you want or what I want. Nobody gives a shit about what I want. Nobody gives a shit about what you want. But people do tend to care about what they want, don't they? If you can help a person get what they want, it is a human tendency to reciprocate. Humans are tribal creatures. And when somebody brings a lot of resources to the tribe, what do the other tribal members do? They find a way to reciprocate and to say thank you. They find a way. What did he do? He's like, hey, Derek, thanks for your help with that stuff. I mean, that's what just happened here. It's like that was just he didn't do that with any agenda except to say, hey, man, like you helped make my life, significantly better. I think it's fair to say significantly. You helped make my life significantly better, and I just want to say I appreciate that. So that humans do that. If you want to be loved and appreciated, you're going to make yourself useful to others. You don't have to be nice while you do it, but you do have to be useful. I'm not nice to strangers. I'm very warm. I'm very generous. I'm very loyal with my core people. People that I spend significant time with, my inner circle. I really go out of my way to do that. Sometimes to the detriment of my own health. But I don't give a shit about strangers. The type of person that gives a shit about those people, they don't even care about themselves, bro. No, I'm gonna keep my value high. I wanna make sure that I'm very useful. I'll make sure I'm very useful to others. I'm gonna make sure that I'm extraordinarily useful to others. And high quality people are gonna wanna be around me. For as long as I do that, high quality people are gonna wanna be around me. For the same reason that I'll wanna be around them, because they're the same type of people. You don't get to hang out with people if you're not that type of person, dude. You don't get to. Do you think Kobe Bryant, you think he had a hard time hanging out with other NBA guys? Why can he hang out with a bunch of NBA guys, but some of you wouldn't return your call? Because he's Kobe Bryant. Because he's one of those people. You think, I don't know, if you were an MMA dude, if you were a UFC type dude, would you have a hard time making friends with other people like that? No, because you're one of those people. If you were a fucking fancy surgeon, would you have a hard time making friends with other fancy surgeons? You're one of those people. All right? You know what happens if you're a fucking bum? You're going to be hanging out with a bunch of bums. Because the people that are doing something, they ain't got no time to hang out with some bum. So it's just a lifestyle choice. You're going to decide that you're going to make yourself useful and resourceful. No, you go get a mentor, yeah. You go get a mentor. It's like, if you're going to study physics, does that mean you got to reinvent gravity? I was having a conversation about that yesterday. You got to reinvent gravity? You got to reinvent Einstein's theory? Or no, you learn from people that did something before you, so you don't have to make those dumbass mistakes, and you can carry your craft forward, and you'll find some new mistakes to make, because that's what a human is. It's what a human does. You find some new mistakes to make, but God, go make the new mistakes. Don't suffer from the old ones that somebody else already figured out for you. I went out of my way for almost half of my life to go travel all over fucking hell, to go meet people. They're just getting things done. You know what? I care enough about myself to invest in myself. I respect myself, I respect my future enough to think that it's worthwhile. You think through the truth of that. It's like, if you're not interested in making your own life better, if you don't love yourself enough, if you don't care enough about your own future to make it as best as it could possibly be, by having the right trainers, the right mentors, the right books, the right peer group, putting yourself in an environment where you're going to be around guys like them. So maybe reallocate your time, maybe in the short term, this might be the best use of your time in the short term. I know you understand math and you're a logical person, so I don't say this with any disrespect. But maybe you think about, well, how do we reallocate our time a bit differently so you could cut some of those things out and focus on things that would give you, more time in the Pareto principle, more time doing the 20% that would get you 80% of the benefit, Yeah, and then it can be baby steps, I get it. So I got nothing negative to say. I'm certainly not picking on you. I just put that point in your head, Just put how do we spend more time like that? One of these guys runs a marijuana fertilizer company that he founded something like 20 years ago. And he has very significant revenues, eight-figure revenues, and he gets $1 billion plus offers for that company. It's a really hot space right now. And he's had very, very significant offers, over $1 billion to sell this company. But he's making over $100 million a year personally. And he says he tells his executives, he's like, he's probably changed the number. This is a 2-year-old conversation when I talked to him about this. A couple of years ago, he mentioned to me, he's like, he said, any executive that works in my company, I tell them, never call me for a problem. It's got to be $20,000 an hour or more. Because I can't spend my time on anything that's not worth at least $20,000 per hour. And he says, your job to fix any problems that are $20,000 or less per hour, and if there's something significantly more than that, talk to me about it. He also tells them, this guy, he's kind of a firm, tough personality. He and I get along just fine together, but he's kind of a firm, tough, a rigid type person. He wants things just the way he wants them, not a very flexible person. He says, the first time you call me with a problem that's worth less than $20,000 an hour, the answer is you're fired, and I'll be hiring somebody else that can discern the value of the problem and only calls me under the right circumstances. So the first time you do that, you're fired. That's what he tells people before he hires them. It's your job to solve problems that are worth $20,000 an hour or less. If it's worth significantly more than that, I'd like to know about it, and we'll talk it through. And I thought about that, and that's whatever that number is for you at the moment. That number should only be going one way over your lifetime, yeah? Whatever that number is at the moment, it should only be going one direction. And that's a really good heuristic to just have in the back of your head. It's like, well, whatever that is, X dollars. Whatever that is at this moment for you. So, well, what could I do to make that, X plus Y percent? Or, X times Y. Well, that should be what we're spending our time on, And when I think of, how did I get away from some of these fucking bums and losers that, I grew up around, it's like, you really got to be really harshly judgmental. That harsh judgmentalism is like, is this the best use of my time? Is this the best thing I could be doing with my life? And one of my clients this week, smart guy, went to a premier university, was working in a hedge fund, and he and I were chatting last night about temporal discounting, which is a term that I learned from Richard Thaler, who's a Nobel Prize winner and economics professor at my school. And Richard Thaler talked about that. People. Summary statement without the nerd academic talk is like, people grossly misjudge their time. They have a strong bias, an extraordinarily strong bias about right now in short-term emotions versus what would be best for them in the long term. Most people can't even predict a future self more than 6 months or so. Most people can't even predict more than 6 months or so into the future. And that's not a dummy. That's like the majority, a 50th percentile person doesn't really have a concept of self past 3 to 6 months. They don't really have a concept of how their behaviors today will affect their outcomes. So that perpetual focus on the short-term emotion versus, well, what are the things that I should be doing today to invest in a brighter future? Most humans they're too stupid. I'm not even saying it's their fault. I'm just saying, well, that's what a human is. I'm not even assigning blame. For the ones that you assign blame to is a guy who's smart enough to know better, the person who's smart enough to know better, and still chooses an inferior path, in the presence of a superior path. It's many adjectives you could think of to describe that sort of individual. None of them good. you know where success or failure happens is a series of little decisions. It's the 1,000 little decisions that we all make every day. It's those little 1,000 micro decisions every day. And we all fuck up like 900 of them. You got 1,000 little micro decisions every day where you're like, should I go do the productive thing now? Oh, let me just wait a minute. Hey, should I go do it now? Let me wait 2 more minutes. And then pretty soon some time goes by, and then later in the day you're like, damn, I should have spent my time doing something else instead. Well, that time's forever gone. So the real sinister part, it doesn't make for a great clickbait title. It doesn't make for a great headline. But the real sinister part is that. The real sinister part where success is won or lost. So those 1,000 little decisions. If you could fucking, if you fucking could make 200 of them right instead of 100, where you could just do the thing that you were going to do anyway, but just do it a bit sooner. Just do it when you were supposed to, and then reallocate your mental energy to other things. You'd get more done. You'd more than double your results because you'd taken double the action. You'd more than double your results, and you'd find synergies when plus the extra time. You'd find synergies in what you're doing to do it even better. Plus, you'd have extra time to allocate to something else. So a person that could fuck up 800 things instead of 900 things in their day would probably triple their results in whatever areas they were most focused on. Does that make sense? Now I could say a different thing. The good headline title is like, what I learned in jail at age 17, something like that, Look, my dad had a 15-year prison sentence. My uncle had a 15-year prison sentence. I was the only child. I was the only grandchild. My mom is my mom. I was in charge of the house at like age 10. And I didn't want to be, nobody wants to be in charge of the house at age 10, man. Some of you guys know the type of thing I mean, it's like, nobody wants to be in that spot, man. But when I looked around, I'm just like, so my dad's not here to fix it, and my mom can't, and, you prayed to God or something, and then you prayed to Satan after that. And I say that with a straight face and full sincerity, which might have been, an hour of my life cumulatively, by the way. When I was a single digit age, at age 8 or 9 or something, okay? I just had to understand that, that self-determination thing just a bit earlier, man. And I just think I'm fully responsible for my outcomes. And, when you think about that, even things that you didn't do, even things you didn't do, but you could have impacted in some way, you put somebody in a position and they messed it up, but you put them in that position. Even if it wasn't your fault, you did everything right. You say, well, what could I do better next time? It don't mean you got to beat yourself up, but there should be that perpetual question, well, what could I do better next time? What else could I do? If you ain't asking yourself many times a day, what else could I do? What could I do a little better next time? What else? What else? If you're not asking yourself that many times a day, you leave a lot of opportunities behind, And how many times you want to do the same stupid shit and think, it's too late now. It's too late now. So I made that effort when it was still relevant. It'd be a misallocation of resources right now. I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy to come fucking tell a group of people, hey, blah, 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 my mom this and my dad that, and, I ain't happy about that, man. It's like, I don't take some fucking weird joy in that. It's just like, all right, but if I can help some other poor bastard, I just think like that. It's like, there's so many opportunities I could actually help somebody go do something. And when I think of what are my long-term goals, man, I didn't have a good family structure. So really what I value more than anything is probably loyalty and friendship. And I got to go find the people that are most serious. And I have a rare opportunity in human history, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way at all. I feel very grateful, and I feel extraordinarily grateful, and I feel humble and with humility in my heart and spirit. I feel like I'm very uniquely positioned in human history. That there's not so many people out there that could help you guys with building social networks better than I can. So, I got to spend my time around that type of people, not, it'd be a misallocation of my resources. It'd be bad for me, and it'd be bad for others for me it'd just be stupid, man. So, that's just the cold reality of it. There's just better use of our time, man, How many people here are like, not fucking around, but are serious about like your career, your finances, whether that's an entrepreneurial thing, your career? Look around. Put your hand up all the way so other people can recognize you, by the way. Look around. So, you're in the right room when something like that happens, you're in the right room when something like that happens. So, I felt, I posted a video on YouTube a couple weeks ago as like, ignorance is not bliss, Actually, the video was taken in London when I was here in September. The video was filmed in London. But that video from last week, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is pain and suffering. It really is. It's like, you can be fucking delusional. A guy can tell himself his little egoic story about how, your ego just tells you you're a fucking hero and a superstar and a champ already, And like, well, if you're big enough or smart enough to put your ego aside just a little bit and actually go do some shit, well, you have better outcomes. And if you really were so attached to your ego, I suppose you could bring it back and be a bigger champ, I suppose. You tell yourself an even more grandiose story. It won't be true. But, I just think, I'm really very obsessed with the idea that the more I could make myself useful to others, the more I contribute to others, the more they'd be happy to contribute to me. And, that helps you get through gradients of people where, there's only so much time, there's only so many people in that top 1%. And it shouldn't even be, anybody here that's raising their hand, you guys should be in the top 1% or whatever you're doing. If you're not there now, it should be your goal to be that person. Some of you, and I know a few of you, I know many of you, I know a few of you are in the top 1% of your area, your profession, the shit you do, And then bring up a couple other areas of your life to that same level, And how would you be better positioned to be able to take care of a family member or a loved one or, your girl or your kid or whatever the fuck you might care about in the future, your good friend, your business partner. I just think that it's like I'm just positioning myself so I'm going to be in I already am in a fantastic situation in terms of peer group, friends or whatever, but I'm also going to be alive another 40-something years, maybe 50-something years, maybe. This video is brought to you by Moneyberg.com. I want you to go to Moneyberg.com right now to see where you can meet me live when I come to a city near you. I want you to be part of our audience. I want you to be part of our elite success programs. I want you to be part of the fun. Most importantly, I want you to ensure your success and your financial independence working with me while we travel around the world and help people live their dreams. Go to Moneyberg.com. Success is closer than you think. It's waiting for you there.